Introduction. Episode 12. Steve Jobs, the visionary who changed everything. Welcome back to Famous People. In our last episode, we explored the remarkable life of Stephen Hawking, a brilliant physicist who taught us to look up at the stars and never stop questioning the universe around us. Today, we're bringing our focus back down to Earth, but to something equally transformative, the personal computer revolution. We're talking about Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., and one of the most influential figures in modern technology. Jobs didn't just create products, he changed how we interact with technology, how we communicate, and even how we think about design and creativity. His story is one of innovation, perfectionism, and the belief that technology should serve humanity in beautiful, intuitive ways. Early life and the garage beginning. Stephen Paul Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. He was adopted as a baby by Paul and Clara Jobs, who raised him in Mountain View, California, right in the heart of what would later become known as Silicon Valley. Even as a child, Jobs showed signs of the perfectionist he would become. His adoptive father, Paul, was a craftsman who taught him that even the parts of a project that no one would see should be made perfectly. This lesson would later influence how Jobs approached every Apple product. Jobs wasn't always an easy student. He was bright but often bored in school, sometimes getting into trouble. However, he was deeply curious about electronics and spent time learning from his father and neighbors who worked in the growing tech industry around them. In 1972, Jobs enrolled at Reed College in Oregon, but he dropped out after just one semester because of the financial burden on his family. However, he continued attending classes that interested him for another 18 months, including a calligraphy class that would later inspire the beautiful typography in Apple computers. The birth of Apple. The most famous part of Jobs' early story happened in 1976, when he was just 21 years old. Along with his friend Steve Wozniak, who was a brilliant engineer, Jobs started Apple Computer Company in his family's garage. Wozniak had designed a revolutionary personal computer, and Jobs saw its potential. While Wozniak focused on the technical side, Jobs was the one who understood that computers could be more than just tools for engineers and hobbyists. He believed they could be personal, beautiful, and accessible to everyone. This vision would guide Apple for decades. Their first product, the Apple I, was basically a circuit board that customers had to assemble themselves. But Jobs was already thinking bigger. The Apple II, launched in 1977, was a complete computer system with a sleek plastic case and color graphics. It became one of the first hugely successful personal computers and established Apple as a major player in the tech industry. The wilderness years. Success didn't come without challenges. In 1985, after conflicts with Apple's board of directors, Jobs was forced out of the company he had co-founded. Many people thought his career was over, but Jobs used this setback as an opportunity to grow. He started a new computer company called Next, which focused on high-end computers for businesses and universities. While Next wasn't a commercial success, it was technologically advanced and would later play a crucial role in Apple's future. During this time, Jobs also bought a small animation studio from filmmaker George Lucas for $10 million. That studio was Pixar, and under Jobs' leadership, it would revolutionize animated movies. Pixar's first film, Toy Story, was released in 1995 and became a massive hit, proving that computer animation could create compelling, emotional stories. The return and renaissance. In 1997, Apple was struggling and near bankruptcy. In a surprising turn of events, the company bought Next, bringing Jobs back to Apple as CEO. Many people wondered if he could save the company he had helped create. Jobs immediately began reshaping Apple. He simplified the product line, focusing on a few exceptional products rather than many mediocre ones. He also emphasized design in a way that was revolutionary for the tech industry. Jobs believed that technology should not only work well, but also be beautiful and intuitive to use. The first sign of Apple's comeback was the iMac, launched in 1998. Unlike the beige boxes that dominated the computer market, the iMac came in bright, translucent colors and had a friendly, approachable design. It was a hit and it announced that Apple was back, changing the world. But Jobs wasn't finished. In 2001, Apple launched the iPod, a portable music player that could hold thousands of songs. The iPod, combined with the iTunes Store, completely changed how people buy and listen to music. It saved the music industry from piracy while giving consumers a legal, convenient way to get the songs they wanted. Then came the iPhone in 2007. Jobs stood on stage and said, "Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone." He wasn't exaggerating. The iPhone combined a phone, iPod, and internet device into one sleek package with a touchscreen interface that was unlike anything people had seen before. It didn't just compete with other phones. It created an entirely new category of device. The iPad, launched in 2010, did something similar for tablet computers. While tablets had existed before, the iPad was the first one that was truly user-friendly and found a mass audience. It created new possibilities for reading, gaming, art, and productivity. The philosophy behind the magic. What made Jobs special wasn't just the products he created, but his philosophy about technology and design. He believed in simplicity, saying simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. He thought that the best technology should be so intuitive that people wouldn't need instruction manuals. Jobs was famously demanding, sometimes difficult to work with, but he pushed everyone around him to do their best work. He believed that good enough wasn't good enough. Everything had to be perfect or as close to perfect as possible. He also understood that technology alone wasn't enough. Jobs often said that Apple existed at the intersection of technology and liberal arts. He believed that the best products combined technical excellence with an understanding of human needs and desires. Personal struggles and strength. Jobs faced significant personal challenges throughout his life. In 2003, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Initially, he tried to treat it with alternative medicine, but eventually underwent surgery and treatment. He continued working throughout his illness, introducing some of Apple's most important products during this time. His health struggles were largely kept private, but they seemed to give him an even greater sense of urgency about his work. He became more focused on his legacy and on ensuring that Apple would continue to innovate after he was gone. Legacy and impact. Steve Jobs passed away on October 5, 2011, at the age of 56. His death was mourned around the world, with people leaving flowers, apples, and post-it note messages at Apple stores everywhere. But his influence lives on in ways both obvious and subtle. The smartphone you might be carrying, the way apps are designed, the expectation that technology should be beautiful and easy to use, all of these can be traced back to Jobs' vision. More broadly, Jobs changed our relationship with technology. Before Apple's innovations, computers and phones were often seen as necessary tools. Jobs helped make them extensions of ourselves, devices that could enhance our creativity, connect us with others, and even bring us joy. Lessons for today. Jobs' story offers several important lessons. First, he showed that setbacks can be opportunities. Being fired from Apple was devastating, but it led him to Pixar and gave him the experience he needed to later save Apple. Second, he demonstrated the power of focusing on a few things and doing them exceptionally well, rather than trying to do everything. When he returned to Apple, one of his first actions was to simplify the product line dramatically. Finally, Jobs proved that caring about design and user experience isn't just about making things pretty. It's about making them work better for people. His obsession with simplicity and intuitive design has influenced industries far beyond technology. Discussion questions. What do you think was Steve Jobs' greatest contribution to technology and society? How has the smartphone changed your daily life compared to life before these devices existed? Do you think Jobs' demanding perfectionism was necessary for Apple's success? Or could the same results have been achieved differently? What current technology do you think needs to be redesigned to be more user-friendly? Closing. Steve Jobs once said, "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower." His life was a testament to the power of thinking differently, of refusing to accept that things have to be the way they've always been. He showed us that technology at its best can be a tool for human expression and connection. Whether you're using an iPhone, an Android device, or any modern computer, you're benefiting from the revolution that Jobs helped start. His legacy reminds us that the most powerful changes often come from asking simple questions. How can this be better? How can this be more beautiful? How can this serve people in a more meaningful way? In our next episode of Famous People, we'll explore the life of someone who asked different but equally important questions about service and compassion, Mother Teresa, whose work with the poorest of the poor in India showed the world a different kind of leadership. Stay curious, keep questioning, and remember that the best innovations often come from caring deeply about making life better for others.